Hello there. I'm going to read you a story from a wonderful book called Andrew McAndrew. Andrew McAndrew sat in the front room of his own house. When he was alone, Andrew always looked around him and saw as much as he could see. There was a tall wooden clock in the corner with a white face, and it ticked very slowly. Tick, tick, tick. Suddenly the door opened, and Andrew's granddad came in. Because he lived nearby, he visited them every day. "Hello, Andrew McAndrew," he said. "What are you looking at?" Andrew pointed. His granddad leaned his hand against the clock, which was taller than him. "This is called a grandfather clock." He knocked on the wood with his knuckle. "Let me show you how it works." He opened a small door in the clock's tummy, and Andrew saw two big weights on a chain and a shiny thing which swung backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. "That's the pendulum. You wind it up like this by pulling one of the weights." The chain made a rattling sound. Andrew said one of his little rhymes. "Andrew McAndrew, wouldn't it be great if you could pull that great big weight?" His granddad said to him, "The clock has to be right, because do you know what night it is tonight?" Andrew shook his head. "It's Hogmanay." "What is that?" asked Andrew. "This is the last day of one year, and at 12 o'clock, when both of the hands are pointing to the ceiling, it will be a new year. New Year's Day, and everybody in the town makes a great hullabaloo." "What's a hullabaloo?" asked Andrew. "It's noises and cheering. Bells ring and cars toot their horns and ships sound their sirens and trains blow their whistles. Oh, it's the greatest noise you've ever heard." Andrew sat on the sofa and wished. I wish with all my might that I could stay up late tonight." He tried to imagine what all the noises would be like, but he couldn't. "If I wasn't in bed," said Andrew, "could I ring the bell on my wee red bike?" "Oh, surely, Andrew McAndrew. That would be a great rackety noise." "Can I stay up?" His granddad went away to ask Andrew's mum and dad if he could stay up late. Andrew went over to the grandfather clock and opened the wee door and looked inside. He saw the weights and the shiny thing that went backwards and forwards. He pulled one of the weights, but just then he heard his granddad coming back. He shut the wee door as quickly as he could. "I'm afraid," said his granddad, "that everybody says you're too young to stay up." So Andrew McAndrew had to go to bed at his usual time. He fell asleep, thinking of all the excitement and noises he would miss. Then in the dark he woke up. He didn't know what time it was. Whenever he woke up in the dark, he always shouted, "I want a drink of water." His mum came into his room. Andrew asked, "Is it next year, Nat?" No, but it will be soon. I suppose now you're awake you can come down." She lifted him and gave him a hug and carried him downstairs in his pyjamas. Everything was bright and shining. All the family were there, including Grandad, and they were wearing party hats and drinking drinks. They were all standing round the grandfather clock, and both hands were nearly pointing to the ceiling. Then Grandad said, "Shh." "What's wrong, Grandad?" "Shh. I think the clock has stopped. It can't be. I wound it up today." And they all listened. It was absolutely silent. "No tick," said Grandad. "Who's been fiddling with this clock?" He looked very cross. Andrew thought, oh dear, I'm to blame. The clock will never be the same." Everybody looked very cross. Andrew said, "I'm sorry, I touched the weight." His granddad said, "Oh, never mind, I can fix it." And he looked at the watch on his wrist and fixed the hands on the grandfather clock and pulled the weight, so the clock started to tick again, slowly. Tick, tick, tick. Then the clock made a whirring noise and bong, bong, bong. And everybody shouted, "Happy New Year!" and kissed and hugged one another. Outside the house there was the noise of bells and car horns and ship sirens and train whistles. Andrew ran into the hallway and rang the bell on his little red bike, and everybody laughed. He said to himself, I wish, with all my might, that Hogmanay was every night.